Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? We appreciate Jon Stinchcomb. Whenever he can give us a few minutes of his time, he does that now. Jon, we appreciate you, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's all about some football.
Yeah, man. It's always our pleasure, and it's nice that the pads are on and they're popping. Let me actually start there, Jon. Just from a guy who did this for so long, how does camp change whenever you move to full pads?
It starts, right? So up to this point, it's all mental and movement, and now we get to see what it actually looks like. I think back to that rookie season for Jari Evans. A guy like him comes out of a small school, and quite honestly, it's not till you put on the pads until you see, boy, this guy's different. And when you're talking about offensive and defensive linemen, we're not talking 7-on-7 pass scale in the off season where you get to evaluate guys as they just run around in their underwear. Now it becomes real football, and you see guys get better and kind of distinguish themselves from the herd.
So that's going to be it's interesting you went there, because that's going to be a really interesting storyline for this Saints team on the offensive line. Because, man, Jon, they have a ton of draft capital invested in that line, but they are young and going to be experienced at spots. We talked a ton last year about Taliesin Fuanga moving to left tackle. Now he's moving back to right. If you would walk us through what challenges are there for him doing that.
Well, I was really impressed with how he handled it, stepping into that left tackle role, coming out of college, and almost extensively and exclusively his experience was on that right side. So I think this will be a natural transition for him, more so than what the ask was this time last year. So I think that transition is a good one. Hey, you talk about the draft capital that the Saints have invested in their offensive line. It's kind of strange to think that the lone projected starter of that group, who's not a first-round draft pick, may be and probably is the foundation from which they've built upon, and that's Eric McCoy in the middle. So a lot has been invested, and a lot should be expected from this group.
Do you have an early opinion on Kelvin Banks from what you've seen?
I do not yet. I can't wait for this preseason to play out. I know this, the way the game has evolved and the rules and restrictions that exist for every team out there in the NFL and the number of plays and snaps that you get, each one is going to be vital for him to get up to speed. The expectation is that he's the day one starter at left tackle, and for any young player, and especially seeing and reading everything that's come out of camp, he can't get enough reps. And the talent is there. You talk and listen to the quotes from guys like Chase Young, who've been around a while. They recognize why he was the number 9 pick in the draft. And you see the talent and just ability every time you watch him move. But it's the nuances of the game, and that's what really defines those great players. And what we saw from Fuaga is even in preseason, but certainly throughout the season, he continued to get better. You saw the technique come along. You saw the recognition of some of the things that I don't even want to use the term plagued him, but challenged him early on in the season. He learned from, and that comes from just reps on reps. So for Banks, it'll be the same. Day one starter as a rookie, that you have to come in and you're learning on the job, and it's how quickly can you get up to speed.
Jon Stinchcomb is with us. I'm glad you mentioned the reps, Jon, because I did want to ask, your career didn't end that long ago, but it was still such a dramatically different time in the NFL. Before the latest CBA, limited practice time, limited physical contact. Like, you went through the 2-a-days in Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, like those brutal camps that we've heard that are sort of the stuff of legend. Do you think, can you maybe sort of help illustrate for us maybe the difficulty or challenge or difference for these guys now that are going to be asked to do what you just said, be day one starters, like a guy like Kelvin Banks, without having the reps, the practices, and the physicality?
Yeah, and I think that's where you see it most. The offensive defensive line is those reps where it is full speed, it is full padded, and you're seeing, you come out of college, and this hasn't changed. You've seen guys as big as what you'll see in the NFL, and you've seen guys as fast as what you'll see in the NFL. Now the issue is that's the same guy, and their skill level is they're professionals in their field, and it's really advanced. So luckily for both our tackles, you have seen they are athletically gifted. They move really well. They're super powerful, and they're starting with an athletic base that most folks only dream of. Now it's a matter of how quickly can they learn the game and pick up the technique that will allow them to kind of accentuate their athletic ability. And because of the change in the CBA and the rules regulations, I think it has impacted primarily the offensive and defensive lines' early development. Now, luckily for the Saints, you're talking about guys that are, uniquely gifted. And I think really it's felt more for guys that kind of come later in the draft or undrafted free agents that aren't as far along in their development. But for all these players, they need those reps. And, it's a cost-benefit analysis that, as a veteran, I would like to have less reps in the offseason. I would like for training camp to be shorter or less physical, and that will extend my career. But for young guys that are trying to get started, those reps are invaluable, and you need as many as you can get to get your feet underneath yourself and get up to speed and hopefully start that long career that everyone's shooting for.
Yeah, it's such an interesting paradigm. The other guy we got to talk about, of course, is Trevor Penning, who is moving positions now for the third time in as many years, from left to right now to guard. John, what do you think about the decision and what we should expect for Trevor Penning here in this camp?
Well, I was pleasantly surprised with his performance last year, and I think that's where I'd like to start. And his evaluation is, it was not perfect. I don't think anyone expected it to be, but it exceeded my expectations. And what was on full display are his strengths, which is his physicality. You saw in the run game, and I think that married well to the system he was under and a part of this past season. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like under Coach Moore's tenure. So it will be interesting for all of us to see as it unfolds which way they lean. But you look at the way this offensive line is built now, and the ability of to kind of highlight their strengths with Banks. I saw him firsthand in Texas and the physicality that he brought. And you pair that next to a guy like Trevor Penning, who, even coming out of college, we all knew that he loved to finish and he was physical, and that was on full display last year. So I think it's a matter of how quickly he can adjust to everything happening now and not having to all the space that he did have on those edges, and that can either be to his benefit or his detriment. And in those situations, he can win quick, but you also can lose quick. And I think we've seen some reps early on against Brazil that kind of highlight that. So there's a learning curve. I think there's a bigger learning curve for Penning going from tackle to guard than there is for Fuaga going from left to right.
Oh, it's interesting. Okay, two more. Jon Stinchcomb, our guest. Always appreciate your time, your insight. Of course, John will be on the call for the Saints preseason games again this year. 3 preseason games. First one coming up a week from Sunday on out in L.A. Are you going to be out in L.A. for any of those joint practices, by the way?
Nope, not going to make it out for the joint practice.
Okay. It would be easy to assume that Spencer Rattler has a slight edge just because he's the incumbent. He's got a year under his belt. How much, if at all, of an advantage does Rattler have as they start this quarterback competition in your mind?
Well, I think for both him and Haener, being able to understand what it takes. He's been in actual NFL games. You want to lean on that. You know the preparation that it takes week in and week out to be ready to head in as the starter. With that said, Shuck is a guy that he's been a part of football and a part of a number of systems for a while now. And it's going to be a fun competition to watch. I think for all Saints fans, they're just hoping that there is a clear and decisive front runner so that we know who to get behind and cheer for. And, at this time of camp, the promotion is it's good for all. Iron sharpens iron. The competition's great. The closer we get to September, I think the more everyone would benefit from, this guy just stood out and it's going to be undeniable.
You like to switch to a 3-4 under Brandon Staley?
You know what? I think because of the way the game is played today, it makes a lot of sense. With that said, I think Coach Allen did a really good job especially when he was defensive coordinator of highlighting that 4-3 is not the dinosaur that some have made it out to be, but the variability that you get with a 3-4 and able to highlight the athleticism of guys and really scheme up against the way the offenses attack defenses now. I think you almost, it certainly allows you to be a little more flexible. So I think it can make for a challenge game planning against, especially once you get the right, horses in the stable, if you will.
Jon Stinchcomb, Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, always generous with his time. Jon, we appreciate it, man. Looking forward to seeing you on the call here a week from Sunday.
Appreciate you having me on.
It's always our pleasure. Jon Stinchcomb, former Saint great. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.